Here we are back again, Gym Teacher Dreams podcast, coming on a live Zoom action right in, and with a guest today. We have Mark Beinborn. He was a teammate of mine at the U, and then he's now the head women's coach at Augustana. He's also, I do believe, from Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. Am I right there, Mark?
That is correct.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. So thank you for coming on. I know we had some technical difficulties, but now we seem to be all right. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. First off, how many podcasts have you been on?
I did one for D3 Hoops a couple years ago,
Okay.
and that's the only one I've ever done.
All right. Well, so not bad then. Okay. So
Right.
as you see, I've got the UD. You know, we got this before you were there, but still fits like OJ's glove.
Right.
So anyway, before we get into Mark and talk about kind of what his career path has gone, we got to talk to Ray because social media can. I saw some social media that you got a little frustrated with your lack of basketball skills. Is this true, Ray?
That did happen. This happened about 24 hours ago. As I've mentioned, a couple times recently, I was adjusting the basketball hoop out back, and we got it today, finally, like at 11 o'clock today, we got it where it was like rock solid, exactly how I wanted it. But yesterday, it was good enough to kind of start shooting around, so we did that, and I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And like you saw on Facebook, it was talking about like layups. Like I was doing the Mikan drill, just kind of get warmed up, and I'm missing layups left and right into the layups. And I got frustrated. And at first it was verbal, and then I lost it. And I punted the basketball just right in front of my kids, my neighbors, my wife. I just lost it and punted that thing. And we live very close to Route 30. And like about 10 feet from my foot, I'm like, oh, crap, that was a bad decision. And that thing's like flying towards Route 30, cars going both ways. And I'm like, oh, boy, this is going to be an accident. And it landed about 10 feet in front of Route 30, took a couple bounces and sat, so it didn't get to Route 30, it didn't cross it. Cars did slow down. They saw what was happening. Cars slowed down. But it could have been infinitely worse. And then, like I said, we were playing today with the legit basketball hoop, and it was leveled and all that stuff. And the boys were kind of like half joking, half imitating me. And I'm like, listen, I made a poor decision. You cannot do that. That could have been really bad. So I don't know. Hopefully that's an end to it, but I am fearful that they saw that that's an okay way to express your anger. And it's not. So yes, that happened. My wife put it on Facebook. I'm embarrassed. It happens.
It will never happen again, right?
Right. It'll never happen again.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, Mark, let's go through. Let's talk about your playing days, because Ray and I grew up, 20 miles apart from our towns. I'm older than he is, we grew up in the same area. But tell us a little bit about Beaver Dam and your playing days in high school.
Okay. That's always a tough one for me too, because I love my playing days there. But I moved there in junior high. So like that's the thing. People are always, where are you from? And I never lived anywhere longer than like 6 years at a time until I moved down to the Quad Cities 11 years ago. But I played there high school on a really good high school team. We were a bigger school. At the time, Wisconsin was 4 divisions. We were Division I. I think we won 19 games my senior year. We're a game away from going to state. Should have made it. It's how you can remember details.
Oh gosh.
Doesn't matter in your life, but they do.
Yeah.
We were up 13 at halftime against Madison East, who had Donald Hayes, who went on to play in the NFL. 6'6" receiver, was a 6'6" guard. Was unbelievable. We were up 13. I picked up my 4th foul in the 3rd quarter. I ended up sitting most of the 3rd, so we were down or I think they got it down to 7 by the time I came back in the fourth. And we just lost momentum, and they slowly chipped away, hit an awful lucky shot in my face, I'm not going to lie, in the final minute to take their first lead, and we ended up losing. But one of those games that you'll never forget, tons of talent on the floor, multiple scholarship players, and again, future pro. So it was really fun. Great run. I'm 45 and still sad we didn't go to state. That's the truth.
Let me ask a question, if you don't mind, because a sort of a transition that I've seen over the last couple of years is when I'm talking high school, but I don't know, maybe it's different, for women at college, but I've been noticing coaches have a longer leash with kids who get in foul trouble. Have you noticed that? Do you think back on that? You, as a senior, I'm guessing a very talented athlete, high basketball IQ, do you think you could have played with 4 fouls in the third and maybe earlier in the fourth quarter? And have you seen that trend? Are college coaches having a longer leash?
Yeah, and I think that started honestly with Coach K. I think because Coach K did it long before you saw people doing it, just letting the guy stand, saying you have to be smart. I think that the thing about me is I did have a high basketball IQ, but I also played very emotional. So I do dumb stuff when I was mad, and yeah, I you can attest to that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Very emotional player, and I'd get very fired up, and I was always on the verge of saying something dumb or doing something dumb, or I just so I would like to think I could. I think that now looking back, I understand too when I coach that there are players that I know have that maturity and I can trust them to do it. And there are players that I know if they think they get fouled on this next possession, they're turning around and trying to, retaliate the next one. And I do see more and more people doing it. I do think it's very possible. You do have to be disciplined. And I think my coach, who was brilliant, was smart enough to know that my discipline as a 17, 18-year-old kid was awful. And I don't know that I would have been able to do it. I wish we would have tried, I think, because when you can't get one more and you might not reach in a trap. You might just play better positioning. And I think more and more people have been able to do that. And I think as coaches, it's our job to teach that.
Now, was your dad the coach, or did he coach, or somewhere? No? Okay.
Yeah, my dad coached my entire life, so when I was young, he coached grade school. So I'd go to his practices coaching 8th graders when I'm in, kindergarten and running through their practices, or he'd just keep me out of the way and have me dribble 80 laps, like do 80 laps around a circle, around the gym. And so I'd stay out of his way. So, but I was always around. He coached our summer, a lot of our AAU stuff. Back then, obviously, AAU was different, so I played on a few different teams. But he coached a lot of summer ball, but was always there at half court, first row, to help during games. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you're always a coach. Unfortunately, I shouldn't say that. It's hard to turn off the coach in you. And of your kids, or So yeah, I know exactly. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, actually, so you'd be surprised. At my kids' games, I hardly say anything. Yeah. But I think I'm just sitting there analyzing, and I don't say much. I'm not very vocal. Now, when they play for me, it's a different story. If I'm like, Macy played for me this year, and there were times that weren't always easy or delightful.
Yeah, my son played for me, as a in high school. So it's something that you cherish. But
yes,
there's some moments that that are tough. They're tough. So let's go to. Oh, go ahead, Ray. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it was you who said you had like a rule where coach stopped at the school, and once you got home, you were dad and no coach or whatever. So Mark, if you don't mind me asking, do you have a similar agreement with your daughter? Like when you get
Yes.
home, it's no more basketball?
Yeah, and it goes more specifically to, I'll ask, do you want dad or do you want coach right now?
Sure.
You know, because she knows if she says coach, there are no emotions, you know, that I'm protecting. I'm just going to be honest. And she knows that, so she's prepared for it. But if she's not ready for it, she'll just say, just dad. And I'll just hug her and tell her I love her, and I won't talk about the game at all. Because I can't talk about it and not be honest. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you. And I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need. So, but as long as I started that probably when she was in 6th grade, and because she was defensive and whining when we were coming home from camp one day. And I just said, look, how about I just never coach you again? You know, like I'll just be dad. You can do it. However, just listen to other people. And I was like, I'm done. I don't want to, I love you too much. I don't want to fight. She's like, no, I want you to tell me. Well, I don't, it doesn't sound like you do. No, dad, please. So we ended up making an agreement that day, and it's lasted, you know, this far. And I coached her through AAU all 4 years of high school. And I knew that would either help get her here, that she'd enjoy it, or that would push her away and she'd want to go play for somebody else. But I think having that instilled, that, you know, that rule, I think makes a big difference, though. I really do.
Yeah. All right. Well, then we're going to skip ahead to my senior year and your first year at the U. You know, it was an interesting year, wouldn't you say? As you talk about memories and things, it was an interesting year, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh! Unlike any year I've ever seen in however many years I've been involved in college basketball. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to know more.
Well, we started off. We started off 0-8. I ended up getting a stress fracture like the day before our first practice. I ended up in a boot, and then I had to have surgery. We had a couple other guys that didn't start playing till that time, but we had some we had some young kids in some positions to that made it challenging.
Yeah.
Mark, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think that's a good surface. You know, I think there's so much depth to our problems, and our success and our successes, because it was so. You can finish telling how it went, but yeah, I think we needed you. Your leadership was the most important leadership that we had on the team. Without you out there, and of course your shooting, but that definitely affected us. And then again, not having everybody full strength and throwing in some young players.
Right.
Those were the start of it.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it. It was tough. I mean, I think we had a meeting about that point. When I almost started, I was almost back, and a lot of guys were getting along. And I don't know if you remember, Mark, we sat down and we finally just said, because some people, it was like, oh, well, he does this and he does that. We were not a team.
No.
When you're at the Dubuque and some of these schools, I mean, you got the farm, you got kids from small schools, you got kids from the city. So, and if you're not used to it, you have to. It's tough, and there were a lot of frustrations on the team.
Yeah.
And we sat down and said, you can't worry about it. When we get step on the court, we're a team, and that's where it has to be. And and we started 0-8. We came back, and I think we ended up 15-13 or something. Had a nice run at the end. And then, how many years later, we found out that we lost all but 2 games. We ended up having ineligible players. So we had me and other guys started, at the semester, and mine was stress fracture, but one of them ended up something with him, so he was ineligible, and so we ended up, with 2 wins. But like I said, there was a lot that went on in that season. We talked. You learn things the right way, and you learn things from the wrong way, and had a lot of there's a lot of things that went on that, you know, as a coach, I'm like, I will not do that. And of course, a lot of things I'm like, you know, that's a good thing, you know. So it was
Yeah.
quite just as a man growing up, you know, it was a year that like I said, you could always learn from.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I wish it would have been cultivated in a way that would have even done that more, because I think there was such an opportunity with that group. Like you said, it was such a just when you look at the polarity of what we had on the team, and like you said, you had some Iowa farm kids, you know, from really small towns, kids from inner city, and then people in between from, you know, that have a little bit of both or had some balance and so on. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about that you've seen with basketball throughout these years, unlike anything else to me, the ability to the opportunity to bring people together from all kinds of different backgrounds and so on, and through common common interests, different things, are ways to teach and bring people together. And I don't know that it was always cultivated right at the time. I think that we did some things, like you said, when you came back and bringing the meeting together. Coach obviously made a great decision and made a suspension, which kicked off our run as well. You know, sometimes you got to do that and make people, you know, think about what they're doing to the team and so on. Because I don't think most people don't do it, you know, for pure selfishness. But I honestly think that we had an opportunity to teach a lot to a lot of people on that team that I think got missed at times. But what we ended up doing and growing, and the way we went from being just looking, because we were so talented, but we looked awful on the floor those first 8 games, awful. And then we were able to beat, in my opinion, probably anybody, because I think we did end up splitting with who was great at the time, Luther and BV. They had those big dudes. Simpson, and I think we ended up splitting with all of them. And it went into the last week when I was in the hospital and missed those last 2 games, which is what got us out of that 3rd, 4th place spot when we lost the last 2. But it was an interesting year. It was very interesting. But like I said, I think there was a lot of opportunity that I look at now, more mature than I was then, and would love to, you know, to be able to do a redo on some things.
I know. I think about that also. For me, I was always that team player, but I should have shot more. I mean, that comes off. But I'm a big believer of great shots. But I became an all-conference post passer my last couple of years. You know, and that's not a bad thing. I was doing what was asked of me, but in terms of, I should have been a little more aggressive scoring wise. But I wouldn't change it. I mean, once again, LJ, loved being around him. Back in the UD, I learned a lot at UD and different people from different places. So it was fun. That year was challenging, but yet I still remember a lot of the positives with it. And Mark beat me in a 3-point contest at Midnight Madness.
I mean, sometimes you find it. Sometimes you find it. I did say he was. I mean, to me, he was the purest shooter we had on the team. But I never really considered myself much of a shooter until my last couple years. But and now if I could do it all over again, I would probably put up at least 10 threes a night.
I'm going Steph Curry. I'm going Clay and Steph. It's going up.
Right. I mean, think about that. The way you shoot the ball, you probably shot 2 or 3 a night. You should have been putting up at least 8 a night. Average. 8 threes. But that's the way the game's played now versus then. Yeah. He was our Larry Bird. You're like, why didn't he shoot more?
Yeah.
I can see your head growing.
I got a story about that, but that's off the air. But anyway, let's go to your coaching career. So Why don't you give us? I know you didn't start at Augie, so go ahead and give us your little travel before, and then talk about your experience at Augie.
Okay. I started right after UD. When I graduated, I was a GA there for 3 years, working on my master's. And again, we talked about maturity. I was still finding my way in life. All I knew in my entire life, all I knew was I loved basketball, and that was it. And I knew I wanted to coach, but I made a lot of poor decisions in my younger years. And so my 3 years I loved, but I messed up. And the reason I stopped coaching at UD was, again, my choices. And so that took me to 2 years of being off coaching. I ended up finding a job in Madison, just working to trying to make some money. I'm married, got a daughter, trying to figure out life. And that's when Bobby Endress, who went to UD with us, got the head coaching job at Edgewood, offered me an assistant job while I was in Madison. So helped her out for 2 years. That was when I first got into coaching on the women's side. Did that for 2 years, jumped back to the men's side at Edgewood, coached 2 years there. All 4 years were great. We had great teams, winning seasons, 20-plus wins with the women's team the 1 year. I think we got 20 or 21 with the men's team the 1 year. Coached some great players, coached a guy that, I've just worked with, been in touch with ever since, who's now coaching for the Warriors. So got to, it got to meet some really good people and some long-term friends through that. But after my 2 years with the men there, got an opportunity to come down here at Augie, take over to be an assistant. Did that for 4 years. They made a change. I got the head coaching job, and I've been the head coach the last 8 years. I think it's been 8. Yeah, I think it's 8. I'm not sure. It all starts to blend. But love it. We've gone from the last 4 years have all been winning seasons, and that's the first time that's happened in over 20 years. I think that when I took over, it had been like 15 years since a winning season, or 10 years since a winning record. So we had the best season in 24 years or something, 3-4 years ago, when we had our first winning season. So we're getting better. Not where we want to be yet. Still got a lot of work to do. But it's been fun. I've loved the process. Which again may sound cliche, but you can't skip steps, unless you have multiple scholarships and money behind you. Otherwise, you gotta trust the process a little bit.
That's right. Now, both, once again, Ray grew up in Fulton, and I'm from Savannah, so we around that area. We're river rats in that area. Always liked Augie. Played there once. We got killed, but in terms of your coaching, what have you learned the most? If there's one thing when you were a young coach to now, what is it? And while you think about it, one of the things for me is when I was a young coach, I didn't care. I didn't think if I had talent or what. I thought I was going to be able to win. So to me, good coach equals good players. So that's my thing that I learned, as a young coach. So, well, how about you?
Yeah, I think that that clearly, coaches make great players. You can coach your butt off and see a team that doesn't have much talent have some success, but you're not going to win out. You're not going to win championships that way. You need great players. So recruiting is the number one thing, and so much goes into that. But as far as coaching, I'll tell you, for me, and I honestly think it's going to – yelling is not always teaching. I think that's something that I think a lot of younger coaches do is – and I think a lot of us played for people who yelled and cussed us out and different things. So you get – influenced by that. But I think that learning to teach, you have to be demanding. I think that that's one of the most important things, and there's so many ways of doing that. but you have to have a high level of demand of your players. And that comes to how they act, how they treat each other, and again, work ethic and doing things the right way. But you have to have that level of demand. But how you hold them accountable to that, I think, is what's changed. And it's still evolving. I cannot say it enough. I'm not where I want to be. You know, every year I'm taking away things that I can do. I know I could have done better. And I'm constantly working on that. I think, though, again, not yelling so much. And for me, also getting less emotional with officials. You know, it's not a battle. I really try to treat all officials with respect, and try to ignore them. And I mean, I shouldn't say ignore them. Try to just not worry about that part of the game and just coach the kids. Every once in a while, we get caught up in moments, though. And, you know, it's like the ball kicking story that we started off with. You know, I had an incident this year at Milliken. You know, we ended up losing. Was that an overtime loss? We had a couple overtime losses, tough ones on the road, but you know, on a last second situation, and I lost it. I thought we got fouled. There was a touch on the arm, but enough to call or not, who knows? But I thought there should have been. There was something said to me by the official instead of running away. So as soon as he said something, I lost it. And I'll tell you what, I used it as an opportunity. You know, once it was all done, I was embarrassed, just like Ray, like you said. You know, I took my kids in the room the next week, and I said, look, I owe all of you an apology. I am the leader of this, and I expect you to carry yourselves a certain way. And I said, don't get me wrong, I'm passionate. I'll always fight for you, but I cannot. There were lines crossed, and I can't do that. And you know, I apologize to all of them. And I think that, you know, that's the thing about being human that I think I've learned that helps with me with coaching is we're never going to be perfect. Own up to your mistakes, and because that's what we expect our players to do. And I think that's one of the biggest things that, you know, I'm constantly trying to evolve, is grow as a person, be a better person, be a better leader, be in control of my emotions as much as possible, and try to teach them to do the same.
I want to ask a question about officiating, if you don't mind, since you sort of mentioned it there. It's something I've said, and, you know, like you, the officials, you know, I like to only worry about things that I can control when I'm coaching. When I'm watching a game, you know, I don't know. I guess sometimes I'll watch officiating because my brother's an official in football. One of my best friends is an official in the IHSA. Pick knows him, and he's on a legit crew. He's one of the best officials that I know, and his crew is one of the best officials. I won't go off on that tangent and that rabbit hole, but universally, big pictures, I've been saying this for probably 5 or 7 years, I could almost see and feel like officiating just going downhill across the board. All sports, all levels, my opinion. I don't watch a lot of Division III basketball. I mean, are you seeing anything like that? And I don't think it's necessarily the officials' fault. There's just not a lot of interest in people pursuing officiating, probably because of parents and you know, what good is there in it? All you're going to do is hear this, you know. I mean, who wants to do that?
Yeah.
But have you seen anything like that? I mean, what do you think of officiating in the CCIW or whatever?
Wow. So that's a tough one, because let's be honest, if you ask that same question 30 years ago, what's the answer you're going to get? Oh, it's getting worse. Like, has it really been getting worse for the last 50 years? Or are they always just pretty bad? Because it's such, and, you know, if you think about what they have to do, they're taking calls that a lot of times could be 50-50, and it's your perspective, what you saw, your reaction time to it, all those things that, and again, for everybody, it's different. We've seen great officials and some great crews. Well, even that, why? Usually because you won the game or you lost a really good game that you don't remember a call that made a difference. You know, you weren't happy with every call, but you also knew there was fouls you got away with. And, you know, there's never been a perfectly called game. So I think that I think you're right. I do think there's something to the fact that I think parents and even players to this point have gotten even worse with yelling. I mean, and again, back in the early days, they used to have literally cages so people couldn't throw stuff at refs. So again, is it worse? I don't know. But parents have gotten very vocal, and I think a lot of people are like, well, why would I want to do that? I wouldn't want to officiate. I would get mad. I don't take it personally. I'm a coach, so I don't care if people have opinions. But I would probably tee up people and kick some people out just because of, like when I got teed up or got kicked out of a game a few years ago, guess what? Second I got done being mad, I said, man, he was right. I should. That was great decision. I deserved it, So you know it when you calm down.
Well, one of the things, Mark, that we want to do is have a coaches roundtable, and just kind of stories. Because right now we're at time here for this episode, but I would love to have you, be on our roundtable so we can have some stories of coaching. Talking about officials and the that you got upset. Now, I got a story, an embarrassing story. So thank you for coming. Thanks for being on, and excited we'll talk to you again. But I know you're coming back on because we've got some NBA talk here.
Yes.
Next episode. So thank you, Ray.
Yep. Nice meeting you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Nice meeting you as well.
Podcast.
Hey, I'm an Elmhurst grad, but I'll say good luck to you, whenever basketball resumes, okay?
Thank you very much. And hey, I would expect you to support them. And just so you know, we have not lost to them for the last 4 years. So when I got there,